And I'm back at it again with redesigning live-action princesses, cause Disney has a weird boner for making the iconic dresses we know and love into the saddest, most depressing, and unmagical scraps of fabric I've ever seen. Not you, Cinderella. You're great. And as much as I genuinely enjoyed the Maleficent movies, I was still kind of disappointed with Aurora's dress. And yeah, I get the movies were more about Maleficent, but Aurora still deserved her iconic dress, not this overly modern wedding dress you could buy off Shein. And don't get me started on the color changing, most unmagical moment ever. Now, I can't say too much about Aurora as a character, as again, the movies were more focused on Maleficent, but I did like their mother-daughter bond. But anyway, the film is fine. I genuinely had no issues about its making, as it was the first of Disney's crusade to make the Disney villains more sympathetic, and thankfully, Maleficent didn't get the worst of that treatment, as she still doesn't like humans, and is still pretty dark. Like, she still technically cursed Aurora, and killed the king, so all things considering, I'm pretty happy-ish, like, they still kept a lot of what made the original animated film really interesting and special, but they did decide to make the story more of a Wicked situation where the story is not what it seems, and it's okay, that's fine I guess, but I still really prefer Maleficent to be a villain. So anyway, I did have some reservations about the actress picked for Aurora. Don't get me wrong, I like Mary Ellen Fanning. I just don't think she gives Aurora vibes. Because just like Maleficent in the animated version, she has very unique features. You'll notice she doesn't share the big doe eyes or small button nose the other princesses eventually get. She had a much more pronounced nose, a longer jaw, her cheeks were less chubby, so it was kind of disappointing that they picked someone who looks so much like what Disney characters today look like. And I was just kind of disappointed because they went out of their way to get Angelina Jolie to look more like the animated version, and she does. And she looks amazing. She looks like the character. Yeah, there's some differences obviously because it's live action, but with Aurora, it's just they picked the most Disney brand face they could find, in my opinion. She still did a good job. I mean, I can't fault her for the writing, I can't fault her for who they picked, but honestly, during the movie, I didn't care too much as I was waiting for the dress, and honestly, I couldn't tell if we got it, because in the animated film, she gets the dress on her birthday, but in the live action, she wears the same blue dress the whole time, which I have no beef with. It's historical and very whimsical. It wasn't until the end of the film did it hit me that they didn't include her dress, and I was so irritated by it, because yeah, the blue dress is cute, and her fairy coronation gown was fine, but come on, the iconic princess dress is what I wanted. Good thing I didn't have to wait too long till the next film. I mean, I did wait, but still, second chance to see the dress, only to be massively disappointed. I mean, what happened? Nearly all the dresses from the first movie were historical 14th century dresses, but the second movie was did someone say prom dresses that didn't fit the theme? The wedding dress, which ends up being the iconic animated dress, is so modern in every sense of the word. Half sleeves were not a thing. The pointed corset top, nope, wouldn't have been a thing. All the dresses were made of the same fabric and not separated. It was all one piece of fabric. And not to mention, this fabric wouldn't have existed either, nor the flowers. Adding flowers or ribbons wasn't really popular just yet. Embroidery was more popular. And anything added to make the dress more wealthy was just accessories, aka gold belts with jewels or jewels sewn into the fabric along with metallic fabric. The whole point of 14th century dresses was fabric. The occasional jewels and accessories were just mainly for the wealthy, and even then it was very subtle. It was not overabundance like this wedding dress is trying to do. And again, the dress didn't need to be 100% historically accurate. I'm fine with a bit more flair and drama, but again, they went too hard on modern shapes and designs, and I don't understand why. The dresses from the first movie were perfect. They could have just added more to it instead of making a whole new dress that doesn't fit the time period. And yeah, I can hear y'all, well, magic. Well, magic my ass. Just because there's magic doesn't mean the dress should be modern. If anything, it should be more otherworldly than this. And to be honest, I cannot fault the designer specifically, because you'll notice every single wedding dress is very modern, very marketable, very you could buy this off the Disney site vibe. But yeah, the dress should have been way more otherworldly. I get what they were trying to do with all the flowers and like the butterflies, making it seem more fairy core. And I'm like, flowers and butterflies is not really fairy core, that's just like nature. There's so many things that could have been done, I feel like, and it's so frustrating at the end of it. So let's just get into the design before I start talking about the prince and his stupid marching band jacket. So for Aurora's dress, I figured I'd do the traditional 14th century wedding dress, since in the live action she is getting married, which is honestly just the basic dress shape for the 14th century, but with the added fur line for royalty and wealthy, along with like a few other added elements, again, for royalty and wealthy. But the main silhouette of her dress is based around a kirtle, which is a style of dress made to fit the body, then using belt/girdles to cinch in the waist, though belts were still used, but more for style with this particular silhouette of dress, and were more loose. As you can see, I did give her looser belts, but made them more whimsical. I kept the shape similar to that of tree branches to hint to her connection to the Moors, and instead of it being fabric, I just made it a solid gold chain belt with beaded jewels attached. The other belt is more the traditional girdle belt, but again, it's more for show than actually keeping the dress in place. Plus, I just wanted to load her up with fancy shit since she is royalty. Anyway though, even though every woman wore this style of dress, the differences between class was the fabric, so I put her in light purple silk because it is still her wedding dress. But bright colors were extremely popular. The brighter the color, the better. The more popular colors were yellow, green, blue, purple, and red, which works since Aurora's dress changes colors, but I mostly picked purple as a mix of her two dresses' colors, and cause purple is a royal color. Though I did make her undergarment blue with pink flowers and gold thorns to keep with the fairy/magical parts of her story and background. And as much as I would have loved to give her green, I just couldn't find a way to add it in other than in jewel form. Oh, and yes, I did ombre the color a bit, and though yes, she wears blue the most in the original film, pink is still her signature color in the promotion images, which probably explains why Ariel got a new dress during her promotion time. But anyway, the bodice is a bit different for the times. Since the belt is more unique, I didn't think the V shape of a typical Burgundian gown would look good, so I went more U-shaped, but kept the undergown peeking out, which was usually a different color than the main gown. Again, color was a sign of wealth, so her undergown being blue with embroidery is a big sign of I'm rich and possibly royalty, so yeah. Also, her train is short because drawing 11 feet of train is crazy. I don't care how accurate it would have been for her since she's a blood princess, because fun fact, unlike the next 4 centuries into the future where overabundance was seen as extravagant, long layers of fabric was what was seen as extravagant in the 14th century, though I did make the upper dress shorter, mainly so you could see the underskirt and because you don't drag fur on the floor. The slit is also a bit of a more newer style and closer to the late 14th century, like early 15th century, but still pretty popular. Plus, I really needed the underdress to show, so yeah. Her sleeves are a bit unusual, mainly because sleeves were tight around the arm. The upper sleeve, not the hanging sleeves, that's actually pretty period. But her upper sleeve should have been tight, but since I put the fur at the hem, it's a little wider. Also, it took forever to figure out what this fur is called. The style is called a purfell, and I'm pretty sure I pronounced that super incorrect, but I could not find a pronunciation for the word. But it was basically a strip of fur used to line the neckline, cuffs, hems of the dress. The fur itself is ermine fur, again, probably said that wrong, which is just basically a white weasel with a black tip tail. That's where the black marking comes from, but obviously with Aurora being an animal lover, it's fake since her fur is purple, which dyeing fur wasn't a thing yet, but if Maleficent can wear outfits with fur and feathers, then so can Aurora. Also, if I went harder on like the magical side, I probably would have done like an iridescent ruffled lace or more embroidered designs, but I'm a sucker for historical stuff, so there. And lastly, the rest of her sleeves are simple hanging sleeves with gold hem and simple tight long sleeves with a bell cuff. Now, as for her hair, long hair was worn, but not too often, as hair was braided in twin braids and pinned up and then covered with a headscarf and held together with a headband. Though that particular style was more for spring and summertime. Winter, your head was completely covered, but covering your hair and keeping your hair like tucked away was basically a sign to let people know that your maidenhood was still intact. So but for coronations and weddings, a girl's hair was allowed to be seen and let loose. So that's why her curls are free, but I did give her a barbette styled veil. It's not 100% accurate. I did do some creative freedom, but I wanted to add it for the added effect of a veil. So yeah. As for her crown, I kept it pretty close to the original shape in the animated version. Obviously, the animated version is slightly correct. Normally, crowns within the 14th century were like on your head. You know, they weren't tiara-like. There were no actual tiaras. So every crown was just like this huge chunk of metal sat atop your head, like perfectly on your head. Think like a baseball cap. Or think like the royal family when they're having their coronation and they put the crown on top of the head. It's basically that. However, the style of the crown was very more like church-centric. So a lot of crosses. Very thick shapes. You know, squares, crosses, and the occasional like fleur-de-lis. Sorry, I'm so bad at saying words. But it's usually that like shape. I'm doing the shape with my hands. You can't see because... no. Anyway... But I did add another crown, well, not really a crown, more of a gold headband to keep her veil in place, but I did draw it braided as a sign of union for her and Philip. Also, yes, her eyes are purple. They were originally purple in the film, but due to the lighting and age, it made them look blue. Though, honestly, I like to think her eyes are actually very dark brown since most of the movie has them drawn black, but that was just the style. Though, how fun would it have been if she had very dark eyes due to the curse? But when she wakes up, her eyes are this magical purple. That would have been so cool. But anyway, all things considering, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's a nice enough wedding dress, though not super noticeable to the original dress, but still pretty enough to be satisfying. I mean, after looking into the designs of the dresses, I can kind of see why they all fall flat, as they all had just bits and pieces of the original dress put into them. None were actually the full nods to the dress, so I did my best to show there's more hints to the original dress. But again, I just went more historical since the movies seem to want to reference the time period these characters are set in, yet also don't want to because they gotta sell the dresses. But anyway, I'm like 85% happy with it, so yeah. Anyway, next video will be Maleficent, which I'm like crazy shocked Ursula didn't win the vote, but that's fine with me. Gives me more time to practice drawing fairies since the next Winx Club member I'll be drawing is Tecna. Yay! And then after that, probably Alice, because I'm sure by then it'll be October and then I'll just be drawing redesigns for the Owl House, because why not? Anyway, I'd like to make a special shout out to the first 3 members. Please be nice if I say your username wrong. 4feet10, Can Call, and Ninja Studio Art. Thank you guys so much for becoming a member and supporting this channel. If anyone else is interested or new, I now have memberships open for the channel as a small way to help support my channel and help it grow. So for $2.99, anyone who joins is going to get a shout out at the end of all my videos and will get access to membership badges that I made. Yes, they're seahorses. And yes, the last one is Love Shark related. And we'll also get access to emojis that I also made. They are my old avatar since I can no longer use her in my videos. I figured she could be used in other ways. I do have plans to make more emojis that are updated to the current design that I have of my avatar, so bear with me while I make those. Oh, I also will be doing more sketch sneak peeks for members as well. So if you've ever been curious on what the designs look like before I clean them up, well, here's your chance. Also, no pressure if you can't join. I still appreciate you all. And if you still want to help, then please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Really helps out the channel and me. I hope you all have a super fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!